So let's see what we've got here. Brigitte, hello, Dr. Osborne. Happy New Year. Thanks, Brigitte. The detox C you carry is a great one. My son healed from the flu very fast with the C Flush protocol. Love it. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. It's what I was talking about earlier, where we were talking about the vitamin C protocol. That's the protocol that we use. Soon wants to know, can I use the vitamin C Flush while water only fasting? You can. And actually, as a matter of fact, the way I recommend that you start a fast is the day of the fast that you're starting, because vitamin C doesn't have calories, is flush. And flush the first thing in the morning, and that's your fasting. Your fasting began that morning, and when you do the flush, you're still in a fast, and then you're just taking that fast out for 24 hours or longer. So yes, you can do the C Flush while fasting, and I actually recommend doing the C Flush to begin your fast to expel the toxins out of your body a lot better. Now, that being said, remember the limitations on the flush. Those of you with ulcerations or major hemorrhoids might not be the smartest thing to do in those particular scenarios. And so for those of you who have those problems, skip this one and go straight into the fasting. But yes, you can do them together. Chris wants to know, can a flush be easier done with magnesium? It's not about it being easier or harder, Chris. It's more about we're using a vitamin C specifically for several reasons. Vitamin C has a number of different effects, and we're using that vitamin C, and we're trying to flood your system with vitamin C. Vitamin C is a fuel source for your immune cells. It helps activate T killer cells and natural killer cells in your body. Vitamin C acts as a natural antihistamine. So again, what we're talking about is detoxification. So if you spent your holidays not making the best food choices or bringing in too much, that vitamin C has a lot of other functions that's going to help with those types of scenarios where magnesium is not. So it's not an issue of whether or not because you could certainly take enough magnesium to cause diarrhea. But we're using vitamin C specifically for its anti-inflammatory properties, for its antihistamine properties, for its properties in healing the gut, for its properties in generating glutathione, which helps upregulate liver detoxification. So vitamin C is being chosen very specifically for its biochemical properties versus, let's say, a magnesium. Let's see, Linda, would the vitamin C Flush work for someone having to do a colonoscopy? Last time it was Miralax and Crystal Light. Are you serious? Oh my gosh. Was that your doctor's recommendation? That's terrible advice. Vitamin C works great to clean out the bowel. I've had a lot of people report really great results prior to their colonoscopy. That being said, I'm not your GI doctor. I don't want to give you medical advice. If you're going to use a vitamin C Flush as a colonoscopy prep, you definitely want to clear that with your GI doctor. Okay, let's see here. Killian, I'm 29, had RA, wanted to heal without meds, but had bone deformations everywhere, which was hell. I stopped eating all except grass-fed chicken and avocado, but what now? I'm afraid of getting crippled. Killian, you didn't mention what medications that you were on, but many of those medications actually contribute to leaky gut, which then subsequently contribute to perpetuation of rheumatological arthritis. So my advice to you, if you're just asking about diet advice, Killian, is follow the no grain, no pain protocol. So going back to what I talked about here, number 3, that no grain, no pain protocol will probably be one of the best things that you could do from a diet perspective without having any additional information specifically about you and your history. So, but even more importantly, Killian, if you're worried and you've got a lot of bone deformation or malformation or inflammation, get with a functional medicine doctor and don't guess at this. Don't play around with it. Really get the help that you need, because it's not something you want to mess around with. You're a young man. And if you've already got, you say bone deformation, I'm going to assume you mean bone erosions and things of that nature, which is common in rheumatological disease and arthritis. You don't want to mess around. So you need to get aggressive with it. And you can put it in remission without medication, but you can't put it in remission without medication if you don't have a doctor who's willing to look at your diet, your lifestyle, your chemical exposures, the potential for infection like Lyme or other bacteria that can also cause rheumatological arthritis, and look at your nutritional status. Like, those things are critical and key in order to overcome autoimmune arthritis. Now, let's see. Deandra says we still have a box of GMO candies. someone gave to my husband. It used to be my favorite, so had some a couple of days and made me sluggish and brain fogged. I stopped eating it. Yeah, people are going to do that during the holidays. Don't beat yourself up too bad. Learn the lesson though. So like next year, remember that. Remember how it made you feel, and that will make you better and better at being able to say no when you are tempted with some of these things. Any thoughts on the use of salt blocks applied to the soles of the feet for detoxification? Not really, Mike. I don't have much experience with that. So really, it's not an area where I could say I'm an expert in detoxification using salt blocks. I can tell you these strategies are tried and true. And when I said gimmicky strategies, there are a lot of gimmicky things that are out there that, that don't have a lot of scientific validation, or at least not a lot of scientific understanding. Doesn't mean they might not work for somebody, but and I would put salt block kind of in that arena. Don't have enough science behind them for me to be able to stand up here and suggest them on a broad spectrum. Let's see here. Can someone tell me, is quinoa gluten-free okay to eat for someone gluten-sensitive? Not really, Naomi, or Noemi. I don't know how you pronounce that. But quinoa, there was a study done in 2012 on quinoa proteins, and what they found in several different varieties of quinoa, there were two particular proteins found in quinoa that actually mimicked gluten bad enough that it created a gluten reactivity reaction in people with gluten sensitivity. So I generally don't recommend that people eat quinoa when they've been diagnosed with a gluten issue or when they have a gluten issue, because of, one, the research, but also my clinical experience to see people, and over the last 20 years, I've seen so many people reacting to quinoa in a negative way. So it's just not something I recommend. Let's see here. Kelly, I have to take levothyroxine every morning with water 1 hour before I eat or drink. When should I take the vitamin C? With the thyroid, or 1 hour after? Yeah, the vitamin C comes after the thyroid medication. What you want to make sure is that, there should be your pharmacist or your doctor that prescribed that medication should have told you that it's generally a 1 to 2 hour window with a thyroid medication before you eat or before you ingest anything else, so that you don't have anything interfering with the absorption of that medication. Let's see. Thank you. Usually around the end. Let's see. Does a flush completely empty the bowels? What happens to gut flora after a flush? Not a whole lot. You don't really impact the gut flora. We've actually tested that, because that was one of my first questions when I was introduced to the flush many, many years ago. Is we tested people's bowels before and after a flush and found that it really didn't affect their diversity of their flora and didn't really minimize or reduce their flora. Does liposomal glutathione cross the blood-brain barrier? Depends. Not necessarily. But it can for some people who have leaky brain. And one of the problems with people that have a leaky gut is that it usually perpetuates and creates a blood-brain barrier leakage as well. Let's see here. In ADHD, the circadian rhythm is different. People are most awake and alive during hours 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. I've been trying to sleep early for decades, but even at school, I never slept before 1. Killian, are you colorblind? And I don't say that. I say that because people that have color blindness generally can see at night. And so there's like an evolutionary adaptation that color blindness actually would be a genetic reason why somebody might be considered classically more of a night person. But ADHD, no, that you maybe have developed habits that make you a night person, and that's been called ADHD. But I would generally argue that ADHD is not really a viable medical condition. It's a very subjective diagnosis, and there's no definitive markers that say this person has ADHD or this person doesn't. Most cases of ADHD I've ever seen, the people had the problems because of what they were eating, not necessarily because of a disease state. So if you've been trying for decades, and I think, Killian, you're also the one that with rheumatoid arthritis, you have autoimmunity. You have an autoimmune problem, and so you've got to get serious about your diet and your lifestyle. And I go back to what I recommended earlier, which is no grain, no pain, to get you moving in the right direction. Let's see. We got another question about what about vitamins during the fast from Dave. Great question, Dave. Not necessarily. Remember, vitamins are non-caloric and you can take them. But here's the issue. For some people, B vitamins particularly can cause nausea on an empty stomach. So if you're using vitamins like a multi or B complex and you find that when you take it during a fast, you're getting nauseous and your stomach is upset, then just don't worry about taking the supplements during the fast. So again, when you're trying to attempt a fast, remember, we're not doing, fast forever. We're just doing a program fast for anywhere from 1 to 3 days potentially, or even multiple fasts over the course of a month, but split out over the course of time. So you'll have opportunity to take vitamins in between to help to support your healing process. Wanda wants to know, can I still take my vitamins and herbal supplement? Okay, so same question, during the fasting, or would it diminish the effect of the vitamin C detox? Now, your vitamins are probably not going to diminish the effect of the vitamin C detox. It's just that you don't necessarily need to take all of your supplements during a fasting protocol. Again, if we're talking about a 24-hour fast, it's just 1 day without supplements. It's not going to make or break your success. Andrew wants to know, detoxifying good for kick-starting testosterone? It can be, Andrew. There are some research studies that show that the benefits of fasting actually can reduce sex hormone binding globulin and improve testosterone levels in men. So yes, yes, to answer your question, it can. Does it for everyone? I think that could be debated, but definitely there's research that alludes to the effect that fasting can have on improvements in testosterone. Can zeolite be used to detox the brain from mercury? Mary wants to know. Zeolites are basically, they're rock-like compounds that have a really high surface area, a lot like charcoal, only greater. They have a greater surface area than charcoal and can be used for detoxification. So in that regard, to answer your question, zeolite can be used, and a lot of practitioners use them. I would say if you're worried about mercury in your brain, you probably should work with somebody who's experienced in that arena, because and that can give you some objective data as to whether or not it's something that you need to be doing. I like that. Ruth says, breathe as if your life depends on it. Yes, it does. Okay. Let's see. Jean says, hi, I'm already eating 1 meal a day, 1 big meal a day around 2:30 and snack at 6 or so. Can I still add in a 24-hour fast with no problem? Yes, you can. Remember, the point of a fast is the break. So if you're eating 1 big meal a day at 2:30, you're already kind of 24-hour fasting, Jean. So what you may want to attempt to do is do a kind of a longer fast. And so, and those of you listening that don't know what 1 meal a day principle, 1 meal a day type of fasting strategy is an intermittent fasting strategy. It's basically where you're basically fasting for almost 24 hours, but you're eating 1 big meal a day. And that 1 big meal has just as many calories as you would eat in the normal course of a day. So it's not a calorically restricted diet. It's just a time-constrained meal. And so again, the difference between, like a 1 meal a day aspect versus, let's just say, a 24-hour, if you're already used to 1 meal a day type of component, then you're already reaping the benefit from that 24-hour piece. So it's just an issue of, if you feel like you need to detox a little bit further, you can take that out 2 or even possibly 3 days, or again, under supervision, you can push it out even longer and see what that does for you. But I like to fast regularly. I like the 24-hour fast on a semi-regular basis, a few times a month, for the most part, mainly because of the benefits of fasting. So you can actually take in these benefits on a regular basis. You don't have to, toxify yourself for a holiday meal and then jump to a detox. You can actually take advantage of what fasting has to offer your body. There are a lot of benefits physiologically to fasting. Does orange, I'm not sure I understand your question, Shireen. Does orange good for cleaning out the gut? In essence, I think what you're asking is, are oranges good for cleaning out the gut? No, not really, but maybe that's not what you meant. So maybe if you re-ask that question, I can answer it better. Andrew wants to know if saline water helps. Drinking a liter of water with a tablespoon of sea salt. More than anything, it's not that it helps flush out your intestines. I mean, water is a great flushing tool, but it helps prevent dehydration, and it helps keep your salt levels up, especially those of you who might be on certain medications that can lower your salt, especially blood pressure medications. I fasted for 7 days, took 3 grams sodium ascorbate with minerals once or twice per day occasionally. NAC made me weak and sleepy after the 3-day mark. Felt all right overall, though. Thanks for sharing your experience, Acetyl. Yeah, when you get extended, when you go for 7, you're going to get tired. And during a fast, if you're doing a 24-hour fast, you can do all these other things as well. But you get beyond that, you're not going to want to do a 3 or a 7-day fast where you're trying to exercise during that time frame. Those are times if you choose or opt for a much longer fast. And that's why I say do it with supervision, because you really want to have. It's like taking your vacation to do a fast. You take 7 days off and you do this fast because you're going to be really tired. Most of you are going to be really tired and lethargic after about day 4. You're going to kind of go numb. But the first few days it can be a real big challenge, and then once you kind of get past day 4, it can get easier. But some people report just the opposite, so it depends. But again, I don't recommend those extended fasting without some type of supervision if you don't have experience with it. Oscar wants to know, is it healthy to eat 3,000 to 4,000 calories with 75% fat if you eat once a day and are exercising much for the benefits of fasting? Depends on who you are, Oscar. I mean, diet is very unique to the person. So that 3,000 to 4,000 calories is very generalized and very generic. Many people, it depends on what you're eating as the calories. So, for example, I've had clients that were allergic to broccoli and cauliflower and blueberries. And so if that 3,000 to 4,000 calories was inclusive of something you were allergic to, then no, it's not healthy. But if it's foods that are healthy, I would say that diet is a little bit high in fat. Definitely probably more along the lines of a high-fat keto type of diet. And some people aren't cut out for that to that degree, and some people are. So again, there are a lot of biochemical individual differences that I would hate to say, generally speaking, that that's healthy or that it isn't healthy. What about coffee and detox? Coffee doesn't have calories, so from that perspective, coffee's okay. But where you got to be careful about coffee is the pesticide. Coffee's rich in pesticide unless you're buying organic versions. Coffee can also be high in mycotoxins or mold toxins, so you definitely want to look for a brand that is known for its organic bean, but also known for its mold testing. If you go to glutenfreesociety.org to the shop, there are a couple of brands that we recommend there that are solid brands that do these types of tests. Let's see here. I like this. Jarvis says, have you ever observed red skin patches mainly on the arms following showers, and if detoxifying was ever a remedy for this? In my experience, and I've seen this quite a bit, Jarvis, the red splotches or patches on the arms or on the body in general after a shower might be due to something called chloramine. A number of city municipal water companies have gone from using chlorine to using a substance called chloramine because it's cheaper. And so chloramines irritate the skin. It's very much a skin irritant. So if you don't have a shower head filter on your shower head, you might attempt that first. Get a good carbon KDF shower head filter and see if that doesn't reduce the spots occurring after the shower. But a lot of times it's what's in your water specifically that's creating that type of rash. Let's see. Susan wants to know, what could you do to boost your liver, gallbladder, and kidney function if you do all the strategies recommended already? It's a great question. So if you wanted to boost your liver, eat liver as part of your diet. The nutrients found in like a grass-fed beef liver or lamb or something along that line are going to be the very nutrients that your liver needs to maintain its own health and nutritional status. As far as your gallbladder, if you want to, depends on when you say boost your liver or gallbladder, so to boost them would, again, this is just my thinking, would infer that there's a problem with them in the first place. If you have a healthy functioning liver and gallbladder, there's no need to boost them. If you are diagnosed with, let's just say, a cirrhosis or a fatty liver problem or a gallbladder problem, then there certainly are a lot of natural medicine strategies that can be implemented and utilized that will help them. One of the best things for liver is milk thistle. Just as an agent, it's very hepatoprotective. The milk thistle itself, the silymarin, which is one of the active ingredients in milk thistle, is very hepatoprotective, meaning it protects your liver cells. Citrus juice in warm water is very good to help stimulate bile release from the gallbladder. So if you've got a sluggish gallbladder, those are things that you could do. As far as kidney function, fluids, just making sure you have plenty of fluids coming in. During a detox like this, you want to make sure you're peeing about 4 to 6 times a day. As kind of a general rule of thumb. If you're going once or twice, you're probably not going enough, and all those toxins that you're trying to pull out are just going to kind of continue to circulate through your body. But I mean, there are a number of different things you can do to boost function if function is inadequate. But if function is adequate, I don't really necessarily recommend taking a whole bunch of stuff. This is the whole thing, right? All these people are out there doing all these detox kits, and half the things they're doing they don't even really need. And look, I'm as natural and as open-minded as they come. I've been practicing, functional medicine for 20 years now, and I've just not seen any great impact from doing detox kits and supplements without implementing these strategies. And so that's where it started, was when I was young and somewhat a naive practitioner. I was using detox kits, probably like a lot of other ones. But once we started implementing more of this, I found that those supplemental strategies weren't really what was creating the magic. What was creating the magic was the behavioral change and the lifestyle change and the implementation of those things. So don't underestimate the power of your body's capacity to heal itself when you start freeing up its resources to be able to take out the trash. Will taking systemic proteolytic enzymes break the fast? No. No, they won't, because systemic proteolytic enzymes are not going to be broken down like protein and crunched into calories. They're actually going to be absorbed whole into your bloodstream and have a systemic effect on inflammation and other things. So you can take systemic enzymes to do during a fast. Donna wants to know, is it good to do vitamin C detox for mold and candida overgrowth? Yes, I do it very, very frequently in people that have those issues. Let's see, I've been using, oh no, not that. Do you have any thoughts on coffee enemas for detoxifying the liver? Yeah, they work great. If you've got major liver problems or cancer, coffee enema is a really good implementation strategy to help your liver literally take out the trash. What's my opinion on azole antifungals, like itraconazole, nystatin, and clotrimazole for mold overgrowth? I don't think they work as well as natural agents. In my experience, natural agents work far better than the azole antifungals or the nystatin. I get people all the time that come to see me that have been on those antifungals for years and to no effect, and they still have yeast overgrowth until we actually dial in their diet, no grain, no pain style, find out what they're allergic to, and really go after it. But I believe even more specifically, like if you think you have a yeast overgrowth or you're fairly certain you have a yeast overgrowth, ask your doctor to do a sensitivity test to the yeast that you have, meaning they can do what's called a culture sensitivity, where they can tease out your yeast and identify the species and then try to determine what will best kill it. So like, for example, I've had a number of clients come in to see me that were taking massive doses of oregano because it's a popular antifungal, but they weren't getting any better because their particular yeast was resistant to oregano. So just like a bacteria can be antibiotic resistant, fungus or yeast can be, antifungal resistant, including to some of these natural agents. So if you have an infection or an overgrowth and you're trying to deal with it, then you've never done culture sensitivity to see what would the best way for you to deal with it was, that would be a great next step in the process of getting more specific. Andrew, thanks for sharing your experience. Andrew did a 3-day water fast and found that his sensitivity to insulin really improved. So what if a person doesn't have any weight to lose and having to fast because they feel great relief when they fast? Look, fasting is not about weight loss. Let's make no mistake. Now, 51% of the population is overweight. But I'm not recommending fasting as a weight loss strategy. You don't see weight loss anywhere on this board. You see detox on that board. And so a lot of times when people feel better when they fast, it's because they're giving the GI tract a break because their gut has either a leaky or permeable lining. And so what they're eating is leaking into their bloodstream, creating systemic inflammation. Or they're eating foods that they're allergic to. or they're being exposed to chemicals within their foods that are creating an inflammatory response. And so the act of not eating takes away the things that's creating the problem, and so they feel better. But it's not about weight loss. Weight loss, let me just put it like this, weight regulation, normal body weight, is a side effect of health. So the healthier you are, it's not, again, a lot of people go new year, new you, right? And they're doing these detoxes and they want to do weight loss, and weight loss is the big focus. And that's foolhardy and foolish. Weight loss should never be the main goal. That's a vanity reason. And not that you can't have vanity reasons. We all want to look good and feel good in our own skin, but you should want to be healthy first and foremost. And that desire to obtain or to achieve health has to outweigh your desire for weight loss, because people make a lot of bad decisions in the name of weight loss. Look at all the diet fads that we've gone through just in the last 30 or 40 years, and some of them very, very detrimental. Some of the pills that doctors prescribe to suppress the appetite, and some of the stimulants and other things that people have done that have, damaged the heart tissue and other things, all in the name of weight loss. Look, whatever we choose to do with our body, the first aspect of it be, will this help me achieve health, or will this not help me achieve health? And if the answer is, no, it won't help me achieve health, but it'll help me achieve weight loss, then you shouldn't be thinking about doing it. You should stop that and don't have your focus on weight loss. Yvette wants to know, what other nutrients besides B2, magnesium, fish oil is needed for ADHD? Lots of them. I mean, all the B vitamins are important for methylation, for the methylation process, and for energetics. But even more importantly, Yvette, it's not even so much what nutrients are necessary as much as is what foods trigger the symptoms of ADHD. As if you were paying attention to what I said earlier, ADHD is not even, in my opinion, not even it's not a real objective diagnosis. It's a subjective diagnosis. And what that means is it's somebody's opinion of what you have. It's not really a disease per se. So generally when people have the symptoms of ADHD, what they really have is they have biochemical aberration that's being caused either by lack of nutrients or by consumption of chemicals that disrupt their biochemistry, or by consumption of foods that they're reactive to. And so that's really where your wheelhouse of investigation needs to be if you want to try to really figure that out. Okay. Can you talk a bit into infrared? Red light, is it the same? So infrared particularly is a particular wavelength of light that's emitted that penetrates deep into the skin, that helps to emulate a fever. That's actually one of the things that helps is emulate a fever. So it can increase the temperature. And so if you've got bacteria or other things, it can be helpful in that regard. But infrared is designed to penetrate deeper to pull toxin out of the skin. So not quite the same thing as like a red light therapy. An infrared is generally, it's a whole body therapy of light that encases your body and basically heats it up. I did a whole show with a really good expert on infrared, Chris. If you want to go back into the archives and just type in detox and infrared, you should be able to pull that show up. Effective detox for heavy metals. Boy, it depends on what heavy metal, because certain things pull some metals but don't pull other metals. So, more specifically, which metals are you referring to? And I can give you kind of a better answer. But it's like, for example, if it's heavy metal like lead, one of the best things that pulls lead is EDTA. EDTA pulls lead. Chlorella kind of pulls lead. Pectin can pull lead. Alpha lipoic acid is helpful. Vitamin C is helpful. There are a number of natural agents, but EDTA is probably one of the most effective for pulling lead. Now, mercury is a different story. DMSO and DMSA are probably better and more effective at pulling mercury. Zeolites can help. Charcoal can help as well. So again, it just depends on the type of metal that you're really referring to. Silicates can be helpful for detoxification if you've got an aluminum problem. So, Chip, this question always comes up. How about a day in the life of Dr. Osborne from eating and exercise? It's really kind of simple. My strategy is keeping it simple. I'm very stoic about food. What I mean by that is look, I don't need big, huge gourmet this or gourmet that. I eat a lot of the same things as they're in season. So like this morning, for example, I fasted until about noon o'clock, and I generally will do that. I generally won't eat my first meal until about 11:30. So I eat my dinner the night before. is usually around 6:30 or 7. Tonight it'll be a little bit later because I'm talking to you nice folks, but generally it's a little bit earlier than that, and then I won't eat again until the following day. So generally I'm at least fasting 16 to 18 hours, and then I have all my meals within like the 6-hour window over the course of the day. But for me today, what did breakfast look like? It looked like a big chard and spinach and pumpkin seed and sweet potato, actually Japanese sweet potato, and some sliced chicken breast over the top with blueberries as my dressing. So nothing fancy, just really, really stoked about it. But I had a pretty big bowl of that. It's probably about 8 ounces of chicken. If we want to get into serving sizes, we could do that too, because I usually will count those types of things out just to kind of see where I'm falling. And then a lot of times for my midday, I'll have a protein shake with grass-fed beef protein. It's actually one of my own formulations. It's called Ultra Pure Protein, and I'll put some collagen powder in that protein as well. And that's just to help me, because in the morning early, what I like to do is I like to do CrossFit style workouts. So high intensity interval training with body weight activity and body weight exercises, push-ups, pull-ups, squats, lunges, sit-ups, plank holds, sprints, whatever kind of fits the mood of the day. I usually program my workouts, and then, my workouts are generally under 30 minutes, a 10 to 15 minute warm-up followed by a high intensity routine of about 8 to 15 minutes. And then, so that's my morning. And then I come into, my lunch around noon, which I just told you what I ate today. And then tonight I'm going to go home and I'll probably eat a big, huge plate of vegetables and some form of meat. Maybe it'll be fish, maybe it'll be beef. It just depends on what it is tonight. I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian. I do eat meat. Some of you I know are trying to follow vegetarian diets, and that's fine. But that's kind of a day of meals for me, usually 2, not really more than 2 meals, but just a lot of calories within the meals that I do eat. Good question, Chip. Okay, I think we're running down the clock here. So let's see, we had one more I wanted to answer. My thoughts on iron overload. Iron overload is not all that common. Where iron overload becomes a problem, there's a disease called hemochromatosis, Oscar, and that those individuals genetically have an increased risk for iron overload. But as a general rule of thumb, iron overload is not a huge problem. The bigger problem is actually iron deficiency. It's in people that I deal with. Now, I'm not saying that I could answer that question for the entire world, but the people that come to see me generally are gluten sensitive, have iron deficiency anemias in a very, very big way because of the damage that's been done to their GI tracts over many, many years. So in my experience, iron overload is generally not the cause of illness. It's generally the opposite. It's iron deficiency that's contributing to their anemias and their inability to get adequate oxygen and to heal their own inner tissues. That being said, iron overload can happen. Iron overload happens in cases where people have chronic inflammation and iron levels are sequestered different in the body, and they can develop kind of an oxidative process, especially if they think they're anemic and they start taking extra iron when they actually don't need it. But it's pretty rare to see iron overload without somebody just generally supplementing or eating a lot of processed food that's been fortified with iron. And in that regard, it's not really iron overload so much as it is the processed food, at least not in my experience. So hopefully that helps you understand what I think about iron overload. Last question, how many ounces of meat do I recommend in a week? It's not a matter of ounces so much. It depends on what your goals are, Michael. So, for me, there are certain goals that I'm trying to obtain. I mean, there's certain aspects of probably what you're doing that you're trying to obtain. So, during the winter months, I'm not quite so worried as much. I'll let my body fat composition rise a little bit higher during the winter months. And I don't worry so much about it because it's natural to allow for a little bit more fat in the winter. But in the summer times, I like to lean up a little bit, partly because of vanity. So that's one of my vain reasons that I want to try to lean up in the summer, just like everyone else does. So I'll look at the quantities and the carbohydrate, fat, protein ratios of what I'm eating a little bit more aggressively at those times. But as far as in a general week, there's not really an aspect of how many ounces of meat. Generally, what I like to look at it is how many grams of protein that you're actually trying to achieve in the course of a day. So you can get protein from vegetables too. And so it's not just how many ounces of meat. But I generally will eat on a daily basis at least 8 ounces of meat, and many days a lot more than that, if that gives you kind of an idea of where to think about starting. Okay, well, that's it. We've gone over again. So I appreciate your viewership tonight, and appreciate you guys coming back week in and week out to spend time with me on Monday evenings. If you're new to the show, make sure you subscribe. Hit that bell icon, and you'll get notified every time we go live. We do about 7 videos a week beyond this live show, so make sure you subscribe to my channel either way so that you can get updates when those new videos come out and stay abreast of the latest and greatest health and nutritional information so that you can keep yourself and your families healthy. Remember our mission here, and if you'll do me a favor before we say goodnight tonight, is if you'll type in your feed, type in hashtag save 100 million lives. And this is how I'd like you to do it if you would. Hashtag save 100 million lives. No spaces in this. That's our goal. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to reach 100 million people. That's my goal. That's my legacy that I'm trying to leave, and help 100 million people find information that's meaningful, that's fruitful, that's going to help them overcome their health challenges and help get them out of doctors' offices and empower themselves to take control of their own lives and their own health. So help me by typing that in so that people can find us a lot better. And we will see you next Monday night for another show. And if you've got topic requests, don't be a stranger. Chime in what you'd like us to talk about, and we'll do our best this year, 2020, to get it in the books for you. This is Dr. Osborne wishing you excellent health. Have a great evening. We'll see you next week. Hey, if you've got a functional medicine or health question that you'd like me to answer for you, make sure you send me an email, glutenology@gmail.com, and we'll do our best to create a video answer just for you. Have a great day.